Shalom Aleichem. Today is Chof Shvat, the Yortzeit of the Lubavitcher Rebbetzin, Harabonis, Hatzidkonius, Rebbetzin Chaya Mushka, Bas, Rebbetzin Nechom Dina Schneerson. This was the wife of the Rebbe, and she passed away on Chof Shvat, 1988. So I'd like to share a few things that I heard that maybe the Olam people are not so familiar with, and then talk for a few minutes about her. One of the people that we don't hear as often in association with Rebbetzin Chaya Mushka is the late Chassid, Harav Chassid Reb Zalman Gorari. Reb Zalman Gorari was a person like his predecessors, the Goraris. They were completely and totally dedicated to the Rabbeim, both with all three, benafsham, begufam, u'ba'amainam, with their soul, with their body, and with their money. And someone told me that in the 1960s, he would frequent the house of Rabbi Gorari for various reasons, and he noticed a separate phone. I think he said it was a red phone. I'm not sure if it was red, but in addition to the house phone, there was a separate phone. And when that phone rang, no one would pick it up. And it was in his study, I believe. And that later, he was told that phone was exclusively a phone for the Rebbetzin Chaya Mushka. That she had his number and he had her number, and whenever she needed something, she would pick up the phone and call the Rebbetzin Chaya Mushka. And this explains many things that we did hear about later in the years, how he cared for her health, and not only cared for her health, he was, I believe, like in charge of her health, understandably with the Rebbe's guidance and permission and everything else. Now, this is not about Rabbi Gorari, this is about the Rebbetzin Chaya Mushka. The Rebbetzin Chaya Mushka was a very private person. Cut it this way, say it that way. She was a very private person. The only time that I saw the Rebbetzin was in 1980 at the Lag B'Omer parade, through the window in the library, the second floor, looking down at the parade. And this was true for most of my friends, or all of my friends. In the early years, in the 50s and 60s, she was seen a little more because she would come to visit her sister, and there were times she took the Rebbe home. The Rebbetzin was a very educated and cultured person. In one of the magazines that Chabad put out over the years, I read that she would get 2 newspapers each day, the Pravda, which is a Russian newspaper, and another newspaper, a French newspaper. She enjoyed reading, and she enjoyed speaking Russian. There was a cook at Machon Chana. Her name was Mrs. Tzivin, I believe. And she could speak with the Rebbetzin for 2-3 hours in Russian, almost daily. Everyone has heard about the Rebbetzins' elegance and about her chesed and about things like that. The question that one of my daughters asked me actually today is, was the Rebbetzin learned in Torah? The truth is, I don't know. And I asked my good friends, they also don't know. But that doesn't make her not a Rebbetzin. Even if you assume that she wasn't very well versed in Torah, which I'm not at all saying she wasn't. I don't know. I never heard it. I never heard about it. I didn't read anything about it. And I actually asked those people that know facts to let me know. I would really appreciate it. But greater than her learning was her commitment to Yidden and to Adas Chassidim, to the Hasidic community, and to her husband. And this we saw both when the Rebbe had his heart attack in 1977 in the Atzeres, and all the stories about that. And we saw it again with the Sfarim case later in the 80s. People ask, why didn't she come to 770 for davening, for Farbrengens? Well, she had an older sister who she didn't want to make uncomfortable because her husband was the Rebbe and her older sister's husband was Rashag. And as much as he had a position and he was in charge of the yeshivas, nevertheless, the Rebbe was the Rebbe. And I believe that Rabbi Steinzal says this in his book. This is not my chiddush, my novelty. So her sensitivity, because of her sensitivity, she didn't want to rub the eyes out of her sister, her older sister. Another thing is she was very tzenua, very modest. Imagine if she came to 770 and people would make aisles for her and space for her and laud her and praise her. And she hated that. That was the furthest thing from her as a Jewish woman, as a daughter of the Frierdiker Rebbe, and as the Rebbetzin of the Lubavitcher Rebbe. We see from her lifestyle, from what we know here in America, and so it's been told over stories in when she was in Russia and in Berlin and in Poland, but primarily here in the United States, that her looking out for others, helping them in various ways, was a primary aspect of her Rebbetzin Chaya. Okay? And because she didn't want to be in the limelight, therefore she was unseen, unheard of. That was her mahalach, her approach. On a day like today, Chav Bei Shvat, when we reminisce and we think about what she did and what she does for Adas HaChasidim, for us, the Hasidic fraternity of Lubavitch, of Chabad Lubavitch, of Anash, it's important to understand that a Rebbetzin doesn't mean only someone who's very active with people, meeting them and blessing them and encountering them. And you have such Rebbetzins. I understand the Belzer Rebbetzin is that way. Today's Belzer Rebbetzin, and the late Rebbetzin of the Satmar Rov, Rabbi Yoel Teitelbaum, I understand, was very active even after his passing. And even in our own history, let's say Rebbetzin Rivke, the grandmother of the Frierdiker Rebbe, was also very active in Tomchei Tmimim with the kitchen and raising funds and clothing bacharim, as it's been all recorded. Much has been recorded. This Rebbetzin had a different style. And one needs to understand that this doesn't detract at all. And the Rebbe is the one who put it best. Out of all the things I heard by from Shiva, the recordings, and when Dov Heikind, who was an assemblyman here, when he passed the Rebbe to be Menachem Mobile to comfort and console the Rebbe, he said, it's online, I don't remember the exact words, but the idea, he said, I'm sorry to hear about your loss, she was a special person. And you know what the Rebbe said? People underestimated her. When I heard those words, like a knife went into my heart. The Rebbe is saying about his wife that she was underestimated. And I was thinking about it. I'm still thinking about it. What does this mean? This means that because people have questions, was she learned? Why wasn't she seen? And all these issues, it tends to lead us to a position where, she was the Lubavitcher Rebbe. Lubavitcher Rebbe is Lubavitcher Rebbe. She was, a come-along, a sing-along, The Rebbe said about her, people underestimated her. And the Rebbe said it with pain. If you listen to that clip, he said it with a pain, like it's a chaval. It's that they underestimated. So what does that tell you? that she was a very big person, that she was a very great person, that she was a personality of a Rebbetzin. For me, and I hope for all of you listening, that's enough. For the Rebbe to say about his wife, people underestimated her, that tells you everything. So Rabbi say, it's Chav Bei Shvat, and this Shabbos is Shabbos Mevorchim, Oder Rishon, B'shnichas Oder, Marb B'simcha. Let's take all things we could learn from the Rebbetzin, her modesty, her dedication, her commitment to Adas Chassidim, and really only because of her, when she told the lawyers, when she was questioned that my father and all of his belongings belonged to Chassidim, she sealed the case. And it's so true what she said. This isn't a private enterprise. This belongs to God. This belongs to Anash. This belongs to Chabad Hasidus. There's a greater wholesome truth over here. So the Rebbe should help the Kitzur or Anna Sheikhna offer Vihi B'Toichon, that she should be amongst those that will rise together with her dear husband, our Rebbe, with Mashiach's coming, B'Mheir V'Yameinu, a good Shabbos, L'chaim, 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 L'vracha.